And look who is waiting for me, Chef Lisa Samuel. Thank you for being here. It's so good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
I am really excited because you have a new cookbook out right now called Room at the Table, and it's full of classic recipes, but all are gluten-free, which is great for me because y'all know gluten is sometimes a tough ingredient to digest, and Lisa decided to come over and make us some biscuits this morning.
Yes.
I'm excited because biscuits are one of my favorite foods, but if I ate biscuits and gravy, well, it would be feeling me all day long. So gluten-free biscuits are great, but not easy to make. So we're glad that you're here. So let's start this recipe.
Okay, let's do it. Who doesn't love biscuits, right?
Who doesn't love biscuits?
And especially around the holidays, it's such a great thing to be able to make for brunch or for a biscuit board, which we can show you later.
A biscuit. Oh, okay, I'm doing that tomorrow. We got book club tomorrow. We're doing a biscuit board.
Perfect. So we're going to start with some millet flour.
Millet flour, okay.
You know, when you're doing gluten-free baking, you have to use some different types of flours.
That is the key. You can't just go and buy the flour that's already in the bag that says gluten-free flour.
Yeah, it's nice. It gives it extra flavor and better texture if you make your own blends instead of buying the pre-made blends.
Okay, so millet flour.
So millet flour has sort of a sweet kind of corn-like flavor. I think it just gives a really great flavor to the biscuits. And then we have some sorghum flour, which also a little sweet, high in protein and fiber, which is also great. And then some tapioca starch and potato starch.
Okay.
And you have to use starches when you're doing things like biscuits because it helps to give it texture. You know, if you have like potato bread or rolls, they're really tender and soft.
Yeah.
So that's what the potato starch does for the biscuits. And then the tapioca.
Does it come together or did you mix it?
I put those two together.
Okay. You can't just buy them together.
Yeah, no, we have both of those together, and then those also help to create the crispy crust on the outside, which is so delicious on a biscuit.
All right.
And then we're going to add a little sea salt.
Love that.
And baking powder, baking soda.
So both of the baking
Both of those leavenings together. And then a little xanthan gum, which is also essential in a gluten-free biscuit to help it rise.
I feel like xanthan gum is essential in all gluten-free baking.
Yeah, it is.
Except, by the way, if you do buy the pre-made gluten-free flour, a lot of times it has xanthan gum in it.
Yeah.
A little tip I learned, don't double it up.
It can
get chewy.
Yes, it
All
can.
right. Oh, what is that final bowl?
That is for our dusting at the end when we're making them. So next we're gonna grate the butter.
Grate the butter?
Would you like to do this
Sure,
right?
I got it. I wash my hands.
So you start with,
so this is
you can do it
cold.
right on the plate if you want. Yeah, and you're just gonna grate the butter, and that way it makes it into perfect little small pieces that will distribute evenly into the flour. And when the butter melts and the water evaporates and it creates steam, that's what causes the biscuits to rise and causes those really tender, delicious biscuits that you always want to have.
Yes, and I have to say, if you're going to be grating butter, make sure it's nice and cold before you grate, because, I mean, this was already cold, but I'm getting a little...
Yeah, and usually I put it in the freezer ahead of time for about 30 minutes.
That's a great tip.
And then it does, actually, you have to use a little muscle.
Oh, so you're also getting a workout while making your biscuits.
Yeah.
Okay, so a whole stick of butter we grate.
A whole stick of butter. And then we're gonna, once that's all grated up, we're gonna toss that into our flour and toss it all together.
Why do we grate the butter?
It just creates the perfect size pieces.
Oh.
So, you know, I don't know if you've ever made biscuits before, and sometimes they'll say, like, make it a pea size, like if you cut it up and then you take it with your fingers and blend it together.
Okay.
So this automatically creates the perfect size pieces of butter. And so then we can just take that. Perfect.
All right, go ahead.
And I have a little cloth here if you want to wipe your hands off.
Yes, although, you know what, I could just moisturize my hands now with all this butter.
Perfect. You know, making biscuits is not necessarily a clean.
No, as you warned me about. That's why we have our wet towel here, which is actually, you know what, not something I often do in baking, but a really handy thing to have.
Yeah.
I don't know why I don't do that with my children when baking, because... well, the whole room should be a wet towel, actually.
Yeah, and you know what? This is actually a really fun recipe to do with kids. I make this with my son all the time.
Oh, yeah?
And he loves, because they love to play, in a bowl of flour.
Who doesn't love to play in a bowl of flour?
Okay, so we have our butter all mixed in with our flour.
And you're not making it into like a big lump. You want it just to be tossed in lightly with the flour.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then I'm going to add whole Greek yogurt, so full fat Greek yogurt.
Okay.
So a lot of times you'll see recipes will call for buttermilk.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard to find good buttermilk. I don't know about you, but I don't always keep buttermilk in my.
I don't, you know,
Yeah,
I
in my
happen to be
refrigerator.
running low on buttermilk in my fridge right now, actually. That and, you know, home churned butter.
But almost everybody has yogurt. So
Yes.
you mix the yogurt in and you mix that up, and then we're going to add our milk. And this is, again, whole full fat milk. You don't want to use low fat products because that doesn't create a delicious biscuit.
Okay. So if you're going to go biscuits, just
If
go
you're
all
going to
in.
go biscuits, you're going to go
Don't cut
all
corners, or else
in. Yeah,
you won't have
yeah.
a fluffy biscuit.
Exactly. So we're going to mix
Okay.
this all up until it forms a dough.
Okay. But I noticed that
And-
you're not really pulverizing it. You're kind of letting it stay kind of loose.
Exactly.
Which is important.
Exactly. And then we're going to turn this out onto our board. So this is where this dusting flour comes in.
Oh, okay.
And you put that down, and then we're going to put this out here.
All right.
And this is where we're going to form our biscuits. Would you like to do this part?
I would love to do
Okay.
that part.
Okay. I'm just going to set that to the side. So
Okay.
you're just going to take your hands and form it into a rectangle.
Okay.
And you're going to bring it together into a rectangle and then pat it out a little flat.
Okay. Now we only have about a minute left.
Okay.
So how do we get from here to those delicious biscuits over there?
I'll show you really quickly then.
Okay.
So once you have this, you're going to take your bench scraper and you're going to take it and you're going to fold it like a letter.
Fold it like a letter.
And that creates all those delicious layers.
All those little pockets
and you're
whatnot.
gonna do that 2 more times.
Okay.
And then, so say we did that
So 3
2 more
times total.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
did that 2 more times.
Yep.
And then you take your bench scraper and you just cut it into equal biscuits. Transfer that to your baking sheet. Brush it with a little milk and a little flaky salt.
Okay.
And then put it in a hot oven, and that makes these delicious, flaky, yummy biscuits.
Beautiful. How long do you cook these for?
About 18 minutes.
18 minutes. And then what you've done here is she's actually made a biscuit board, which is a great thing if you're having guests in town for the holidays. What is that, pimento cheese?
It is pimento cheese.
I love pimento cheese. I love this biscuit. Oh, this is good.
Yeah, they're super buttery, very flaky.
There's nothing that says gluten-free about this.
Right, yeah.
It's not dry. It's not chewy. It's delicious.
Thank you.
Wish I had the pimento cheese. We'll do that in the commercial break. Okay.
Absolutely.